Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach Malak Bashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting and laboring for the second coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent, and they're abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters holding it down in the households, zealous, diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom to the ancient men, shalom to the children, and shalom to the elect of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to everybody tuning in live through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Praise Yahweh, HBK Lit, Yvette McKellar, Anthony Knox, Dinah 144K, Yazian David, Yehuda Israel, Harold, Hoshaya, Brother Azariah, Don Israel Tamid, Yeshayahu, Kyoko Yumgin, Tapuak, Emily Jones, Mark Traba Ephraim, and again, everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. All hell is breaking loose, man. All hell is breaking loose in the earth. If you're watching, you're seeing what's going on in the so-called Middle East. You see Babylon the Great. You see Iran involved. You see these Arab nations, United Arab Emirates, they getting into this thing. Qatar, they getting involved. Saudi Arabia, they're getting involved. China, they getting involved. France is getting involved. England, they getting involved. All of these nations and countries are getting involved to fulfill the will of the Most High. I'm excited, man. These are exciting times that we're living in. You have a blood moon tonight. This is Blood Moon Live. In-depth focus on dragons of Arabia. You have a blood moon tonight through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shah. And the blood moon is a sign of judgment. It's a sign of war. It's a sign of pending doom, catastrophe. It's a sign of bloodshed, murder, homicide, grenades, RPGs, nuclear warheads, and gunfire on the earth, right? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh, his only begotten son, Yahweh Shah, right? So check it out. Total lunar eclipse, March 3rd, 2026, right? March 3rd, 2026. Total lunar eclipse, that's where you get your blood moon from. The next, this is from space.com. You can find it anywhere, but the next lunar eclipse will occur in the early hours of March 3rd, 2026. For observers in North America, we'll be updating blog as the spirit power. I want to get it foremost so we can understand why the blood moon is important. You have brothers that may be new, sisters that may be new, they may not understand why we're stressing about the stressing, meaning emphasizing the point of the blood moon. Well, ultimately, it's biblical prophecy, right? And it's set up as a sign and for wonders and seasons and days and years, right? Let's read this in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. So the lights in the firmament are the sun, the moon, and the stars. And the stars, they branch off into the various constellations. You read about Pleiades, you read about Arcturus, you read about Mazzaroth in the book of Job, you read about Orion and Amos. You have these different constellations that come in a respective month. You have the sun that serves as a instrument to communicate to us, the sons of God, really the other inhabitants of the earth, but mainly the sons of God, because we're the ones that were taught the instructions of these celestial lights, right? So the sun serves its purpose and the moon serves its purpose, and they communicate unto the sons of God what the Most High is doing on the earth, right? And relative to feast days and relative to judgment as well. Again, we've always went into this word sign, right? When you go into this, one of the definitions or one of the words used to define sign is what? Just the word, it says omen, right? A warning, a distinguishing mark. So the sun and the moon and the stars, right now we're talking about the moon. The moon is a distinguishing mark. It is a omen, a warning. What is the warning? The warning is that Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, is returning to save the elect of the nation of Israel. Those who have been predestined from the foundation of the world, whose foundation is this truth, who have repented, cast off the old man, and have come back to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai through the obedience of keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments through faith. That's who the Lord is coming to return and save. It's a warning that World War III is on the rise. It's a warning that there's going to be massive casualties in the earth once World War III starts. And it will happen. Trump's board of peace is not going to stop it. People protesting out there in the streets of DC, they're not going to stop it. Nobody's going to stop the inevitable. It's a warning of judgment. That's what the moon is for. Right? Let me get this in Psalms chapter 19. Right? Psalms chapter 19 and verse number 1. It reads, "The heavens declare the glory of the Most High, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." Yeah, the handiwork is the beautiful work in the heavens, the work that the Most High did by his power and by his strength. You see the rainbow, you see the blood moon, you see thunder clouds, you see different types of star patterns, right? You see blood moons, you see eclipses. That's the handiwork of the Most High. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge, right? So on a carnal level, the day to day uttereth speech is the sun letting you know, hey, look, here's what hour it is. Hey, look, the day has begun. The day is about to be over, right? The sun tells you exactly what type of time it is, if it's high noon or not, right? Night unto night. The moon is showing knowledge. The moon is telling you what day of the month it is. Is it day 1, which is the new moon? Is it the 15th day? Okay, you have a full moon around that time. Okay, is it a blood moon? That's a warning for judgment. So even there's knowledge given to you by the creation of the Most High that can't talk, right? But it reads, "There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard," because everybody has been given the sun and the moon, not just the Israelites, right? They communicate to every nation under the sun. And every nation under the sun is supposed to utilize the sun and the moon and stars for the intended purpose that the Most High made them. Not to be worshipped. You understand? Not to be reverenced, not to be made an idol, but to be looked at and be utilized for agricultural purposes, for preparation, for times and seasons, for years, for the calendar of the Most High, plant cycles, land Sabbaths, X, Y, and Z. Right? So we have to understand that this blood moon is coming and it's communicating with us. It's instructing us and it's letting us know that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is about to wreak massive havoc in a land of the living. And there's a reason, and that's the reason why you see what you see in the so-called Middle East. Right? It's not a coincidence. It's not by chance. This is the divine Roman councils, right? Because Babylon Great, this is Rome all over again. But American councils and buildings and embassies are getting bombed right now. That's why you have missiles raining out the sky. You have the Strait of Hormuz, which is just completely shut down. You had what, 130, 160 so-called Iranian schoolgirls dead. You had an earthquake that just fell because the bombs are dropping. Let me get that real quick. Right? Iran earthquake. 4.8 earthquake in Iran. Who did that? The Most High. You got blood moons. You got earthquakes in the earth. This is all at the same time. Right? 12 hours ago, did nuclear tests trigger the tremors? Only the Most High know. Did Iran test a nuclear weapon? Well, people would have known. But there's a 4.3 magnitude earthquake in Iran. And that's the handiwork of the Most High. That's the handiwork of the Most High. And for the people who say, well, that's all by chance or that's a coincidence, we have to come out of that mindset and fully accept the fact that Yahweh Bahashmi Awashad is judging the earth. No more Mother Nature, no more the universe, no more karma, right? No more luck, no more by chance. The sooner we realize that this is found in the Bible and this is biblical prophecy, the better off the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man, woman, and child will be. Because now you begin to know who's the source behind all of this in the earth, and it's the Most High. Then you begin to ask yourself, okay, well, in order for me to be saved from this, what do I have to do? Then you begin to go to the prophets and the apostles and the men of the Lord and learn how to receive salvation in the last days. But when you chalk this up to anomalies and strange events, then you'll never truly understand why these events are happening. All right, so I'm gonna read a little of this, and we got a lot we got to get into. Blood Moon 2026. Why this total lunar eclipse will not be seen again for years. A rare celestial event, Blood Moon 2026, will captivate sky watchers as the moon turns a deep red hue. Right? See that? How can somebody look at that and think that that's normal? Think that, they shouldn't do anything? Why would you think you should go about the course of your day as if the Most High is not showing you that, man? Right? Let's read on a little bit. I'm not going to read this whole thing. It says, let's see. Sky watchers and casual observers alike are preparing to turn their eyes to the night sky on March 3rd as a spectacular celestial event unfolds. The total lunar eclipse of 2026, widely known as a blood moon, will bathe the moon in a deep reddish hue as it passes through Earth's shadow. That's what they say. With this event not expected to recur until late 2028, millions worldwide have a rare chance to witness one of the most shocking natural displays in the sky. Right? Let's get this in the Bible, man. Right? Let's get straight to the point. Let's go to Joel, the 2nd chapter. Right? Let's go to Joel, the 2nd chapter. Why is that important? Because it's in the Bible. Right? It's in the word of the Most High. Everything you see around you, global events, geopolitics, wars, signs in the heaven and the moon, these things were told by Yahweh Shai and the prophets and the apostles. Let me get this verse in Luke 21. Right? Let's go to Luke 21, actually. We'll get that one first. What did Yahweh Shai prophesy as a sign before his return? What did he say? This is Luke chapter 21 and 25. It's lucky. It reads, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. That's what you see. You have signs in the sun. You have accounts of people seeing 2 suns. I remember, what was this, 2023? I believe maybe 2022. You had a blood sun, and it was there for days and days and days. And they were trying to explain and say, well, no, that's because it's smoky from Canada and it's causing the sun to be red. That's what they said. But the sun was red. The moon has been dark red before. You've had actual eclipses. You have what Esau calls shooting stars, and the stars align, and all of these different anomalies. These are signs of the return of Yahweh Shai. And you're also going to have uproars, and pandemonium in the earth. That's what this means. And upon the earth, distress of nations. That's financial collapse. That's war. That's famine. That includes all of that. Civil unrest, race wars, plundering, pillaging, bankruptcy, with perplexity, because they're not going to have to answer. A lot of these nations think that they have planned for this new world order, or they have these reserves of money set up, or they're going to bank on China once America's taken out, but they're going to realize that they're all going to be in straits. The sea and the waves roaring. That's the nations fighting amongst one another. All right. You're going to have actual, events in the water, but it's really the sea and the waves goes into people and men, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So people are going to have strokes. They're going to faint. They're going to die. Your heart is really your mind. And if your mind fails you, it's extreme anxiety, that's panic attacks. You got to think about these mental illnesses that people are going to have, man. People are going to have paranoia. People are going to have them heart murmurs and heart palpitations. People are going to have strokes, seizures. People are going to see things and experience events in life that they've only seen in movies. And even then, some of the things that are about to happen, they haven't even been seen in movies. They haven't been seen in books. These are events one time only, given to you straight from the hand of God. And there is no amount of desensitizing from Hollywood, from the radio, from movies that you can experience that's going to get you prepared for what you're about to experience in these upcoming days. That's why men's hearts are going to fail them. And the powers of heaven are going to be shaken, which is what? These different kingdoms. These different kingdoms are going to be shaken by means of thermonuclear destruction. Those are the powers of heaven. All right, let's get this in Joel chapter 2. Joel chapter 2 and verse number 30. All right, Salaki, it reads, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." And you're going to see these things. These are other signs of the end of the world. You're going to have bloodshed. You're going to have hospitals bombed. You're going to have ethnic cleansings. You're going to have events like in Palestine, where they're shooting children in the head, man. You're going to have bombs dropped in Iran. You're going to have fire. You're going to have explosions. You're going to have volcanic eruptions. All hell is breaking loose. You're going to have smoke, which is the aftermath. You're going to have nuclear fallout. The sun shall be turned, this Joel 2 and 31. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai come. So it's a very, very, very extremely sobering sign. For us, it's joy. Now, we're still watching because we don't know if we're going to make it. But we're praying to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai that we do make it. But one thing we know for sure is that these heathen, they damn sure not going to make it. They don't have any chance. And it's going to be a terrible day when World War III is going through the motions and when Yahushua returns. That's the great and terrible day. Joel 2 and 32. "And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as Yahweh hath said, and in the remnant whom Yahweh shall call." So call on the name of the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, and you'll be delivered. Right? Have faith. Pray for mercy. Make sure you're keeping these commandments as best as you can in this flesh. You're being obedient to the Most High. Right? You're getting your spirit right. You're sincere. You have a clean heart, clean hands. And have faith that the Most High will deliver you. Right? Have faith that the Most High is going to deliver you. So that's the blood moon. That's what we call this, the blood moon live. The Blood Moon Special. That was going to be another title, aka the Blood Moon Live. And are we going to get all worked up, and are we going to stay up all night and look at the moon? No, we we're not dismayed at the signs of heaven, right? But we do know that it is an instruction from the Most High, not only to speak about these things, but to also observe these things, meditate on it, and understand that bloodshed is about to happen on the earth. It's about to go down. It's about to go down. Now, we got a lot we want to get into, right? We want to do an in-depth focus on the dragons of Arabia. All right. So let's pull this up. So you have Saudi Arabia. They've just been it was a American consulate, an American political building that they use, similar to embassies. Even some are saying a CIA building just got attacked in Saudi Arabia. You have other Arab nations, right, who are going to play a major, and that's an understatement, a major role in the upcoming weeks and months concerning World War III, right? Concerning World War III. Now, Trump just came out and he made his board of peace, right? At the previous World Economic Forum, he came out and he created the board of peace, right? Surely we remember that. Let's pull this up. Trump board of peace. Now, what did Trump do immediately after creating the board of peace? Well, not too long after making his board of peace, he dropped bombs on Iran. He dropped the bombs on Iran. I believe he went into Venezuela. That was somewhere around that time. Raped, robbed, and murdered. Right? And why? Why? You may say, well, why would God allow them to have a board of peace and then have war on the earth? Well, the Most High said that when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh. Right? And that's why you have these events going on in the world. It's like in concerning World War III and in the Middle East. They said peace and safety. They made a board of peace. And you're going to have more events of peace and safety, right, on a minor level, maybe somewhat of the same fashion. But when you begin to prophesy peace and safety, when the Most High did not, the Most High is going to judge you. He did that to Hananiah and Jeremiah, the 28th chapter, and other false prophets who have prophesied of peace when the Most High is speaking of war. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. And nobody's going to escape the upcoming wars on the earth. Nobody's going to escape the upcoming missiles that are going to begin to rain. Now, this is from Terror Alarm, and you can, all these sites have been, or all of the information we're going into has been verified. Pakistan warned Iran not to strike Saudi Arabia for whatsoever reason. Pakistan is in defense agreement with Saudi Arabia, under which any aggression against one country is considered an attack on both. So Saudi Arabia has a somewhat of an Article 5, for lack of better terms, policy similar to NATO, but they have that with Pakistan. It was going to be with Turkey, but Turkey kind of opted out. But Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have a military alliance where, okay, if you attack Saudi Arabia, you attack Pakistan. Now, Iran, if you've been watching, and most I will, and everybody's been watching. I didn't even want to go into all of the precepts on watching because I know you brothers are watching. And you brothers that's not watching these prophecies, not hitting that refresh button, you're not seeing what's going on in the world, that's a problem. Right? You're actually going off. You're going the hell off. Because you should see and be cognizant of the different events going on in the so-called Middle East. Right? You should be very well aware, at least have a foundation of what's going on. Now, Iran is becoming more and more aggressive. Now, some are saying these are false flags from the state of Israel. Some are saying it's actually Iran. Regardless, Iran, which also plays a major role in biblical prophecy, has been letting loose. And as of late, they've attacked, I believe, about 9 countries. Right? Let's pull this up. Countries attacked by Iran. All right, let's pull this up. Let's see. This is from Axios.com. Here are all the countries now involved in the Iran conflict. United States, right? Obviously, the beast, they always involved. Israel, which is the puppet master, they're involved. United Arab Emirates, the U.S. ally, right? So a lot of these Arab countries, believe it or not, they're allies with the United States. The United States, Babylon the Great, they provide them with protection. They give them weapons. They're a major trade partner, and they're a major key player of oil, of expediting goods, of protecting those people, setting up embassies. So a lot of these Arab countries, they have deals with America. They're an ally. Not every one of them, but United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, they have alliances with America, right? So the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, they're involved. Who else? Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi Arabia. Iran targeted United States bases in Saudi Arabia on the second day of strikes. On Monday, Iran attacked the U.S. embassy and Riyadh. So they're attacking U.S. embassies. It's going down. Iranian drones struck the Ras Tanura oil refinery, one of the world's largest, forcing a partial shutdown. Israeli officials believe Saudi Arabia may also take military action in response. And they came out and said, we might attack Iran. Right? We might attack Iran. Let's see if I can get that information too. Saudi Arabia I'll just type it like this. All right, let's see. From Middle East Eye, Saudi Arabia tells Gulf allies to avoid any steps that could inflame tensions with Iran. So you have a lot going on, right? You have a lot going on in a lot of these countries, man. This is from March 1st. I want to get something more recent. Let's see, 6 hours ago. Jerusalem Post, Iran strikes Saudi infrastructure, pushing Riyadh toward possible war. Iranian strikes on Saudi oil, water, and diplomatic sites have crossed key red lines. Experts warn, forcing Riyadh to weigh retaliation against fears of regional aggression, right? Regional aggression. So things are heating up in the Middle East with this Iranian conflict, right? With this Iranian conflict, and it's dragging more and more countries into this war, right? It's dragging more and more countries into this war. And again, it's always war in the Middle East because that is the region that the Most High promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And that's really the house of the Lord, right? Let me get that first in Genesis. See, there's something spiritual about that land, about that area, right? Well, first, Salaki, it would be better. Let me get Genesis first. This Genesis 15 and verse number 18. And the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land. from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. So that's the region that the Most High gave Abraham. Let's pull that up on the map, right? This is what scholars call Greater Israel, right? Because it really, and that's the land that these devils want. They want to take that land because they know that's the territory that the Most High promised Abraham. From the river of Egypt, like I read in Genesis 15, until the great river, the river Euphrates, which goes all the way up into Iraq. So when you look at the land of Israel now, that is not the entire land that the Most High promised our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He promised them this entire region. And that's the reason why you have a lot of conflict, because eventually the Most High has set it up for these nations to destroy one another so his people can inherit this land. And that's what it's all about, right? All of this is about the Lord doing what he did in the days of old. Remember, when you had Canaanites in that land, the Lord sent hornets, he sent wild beasts, he sent different creatures to destroy the Canaanites by little and by little, until we came in and wiped out the rest of them. So right now, the Most High is using these other nations so they can destroy each other by little and by little until Yahweh Shah returns. And then the elect are coming too, and they're going to clean up all of the rest. So there's no new thing under the sun. There's no new thing under the sun. That's the region that the Most High swore to our fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, right? Let's go to Genesis, the 22nd chapter, right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 22. This is Genesis. Actually, I want 28, Salakia. I want Genesis chapter 28 concerning Jacob's dream. Genesis chapter 28 and verse 11. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night because the sun was set. And he took up the stones of that place and put them for his pillows and lay down in that place to sleep. This is Jacob on his travels. He used a stone for a pillow. He's resting, right? He dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of the Most High ascending and descending on it. Now, this is really talking about a portal that Jacob saw. A portal is a door, right? Where you go from one place to another. You can enter, you can exit from either side. So he saw the angels going from the earth to the third heaven, from the third heaven to the earth. That's ascending and descending, leaving this terrestrial realm, going up to the Most High, and angels from the Most High coming down to the earth, right? And a ladder is just a figurative way. It's a means of ascending and descending, right? That's all it is. They didn't have an actual ladder with OSHA standards and, somebody held the ladder with a hard hat, right? It's hip talk. Verse 13, and behold, the Lord stood above it. That's how you know they were going up to the third heaven, and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac, and the land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. That's the land of Israel, right? And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee, and in thy seed, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And here's the point. Jacob heard all these promises from the Most High. Here's what he said. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep and said, surely Yahweh is in this place, and I knew it not. He said the Most High is in this land. His spirit is here. It's different here than Padan Aram and these other places I was at. The Lord is in this place. This is Bethel. right? Which is Bayath Allah, which means the house of God in the Hebrew. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And that's why there's wars going on. It's a dreadful place. People are always dying. Bombs are always going off. Lions are always killing people. People are dying of skin cancer. People are getting stabbed and blowing themselves up, and all hell be breaking loose. It ain't nice to be in that land if you're not the chosen people. And Jacob called it, he said, this is the house of God. Was he talking about an actual house with an actual door and actual windows and an actual living room? No, he's speaking about the land. And he said, where I dwell, when I look up, this is the gate of heaven. Meaning this is essentially the headquarters for the sons of God. This is the headquarters. This is where the Most High sends his angels. This is the hot spot. There's a lot of spiritual activity. Remember, you got angels bound up in the river Euphrates. You got spirits all in that land. And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he put for his pillows and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. So again, there's a lot going on in that land. And, you know, the news is not going to give you that background about why these things are happening, because that's the house of God. So if you got wicked men in the house of God, the Most High is going to spew you out. Didn't he do that to the Amorites? He said, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And then the Lord said, for the wickedness of these nations do I bring you into this land. So that's always been the MO with Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. When you got the wicked dwelling in that land, you're going to have wars. You're going to have confusion. Let's go to 2 Kings 17 real quick. This 2 Kings chapter 17 and verse number 25. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord. Therefore, the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. So you had heathen that were deported out of their lands and brought back to the land of Israel during the Assyrian captivity. When the Assyrians came and took the northern tribes away, they had a great displacement, and they put a lot of the heathen in that land, and they were bowing down to idols and heathen gods and doing all manner of child sacrifice. So the Lord did what? He sent lions among them, and he was killing all them heathen. Verse 26, wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the God of the land. So if you're not abiding by the manner of the God of the land, the Lord is going to kill you while you're in that land. That's what he's saying. They feared not God. So them Amalekites that's committing genocides and murders and bombs dropping and confusion and sorcery and witchcraft and idolatry and sacrilege, the Lord got something worse than lions. He got heathen. He got missiles. He gonna send his son, right? You have a lot going on because the people know what? They know not the manner of the God of the land. And that's the Most High's chosen land. Out of all of the pits, right? That's his land. Psalms chapter 48 and verse 1. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God and the mountain of his holiness. That's Jerusalem. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion. On the sides of the north, the city is the city of the great king. The Most High is known in her palaces for a refuge. So not only is that the house of God, the headquarters for all of the angels, that's the city of the great king. the city of Yahushua. So Iran don't belong there. Them Palestinians don't belong there. Them so-called Jews don't belong there. So everything you see going on now in that Middle East region, that is for us. Because these people who are within those boundaries from the Nile River to the great river Euphrates, they know not the manner of the God of the land. And instead of lions, the Lord is raising them up amongst one another to destroy one another. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse number 20. Right? 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and 20. Behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Lebanon's, to turn themselves one against another and repay the things that they have done to them. So everybody's turning one against another. You would think that these nations, right, Salakia, you would think that these nations who have dwelt amongst each other for centuries will finally learn how to get along. I mean, damn, they all Muslims. Even though you got these Sunni and Shia and all these different branches. Hey, don't y'all all serve the same so-called false rock god, man? Y'all all worship the moon and the host of heaven. Y'all all homosexuals. You would think they could find some common reason to get along. No, the Most High, he said he's going to turn them one against another to repay the things that they have done to them. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense of their bosom, said the Lord God. So this is beautiful. The Lord is doing that to them because they've done evil things to us. You had the sub-Saharan slave trade, the Ottoman Empire, Muslim Caliphate. You had Ishmael persecuting us. You had all manner of Sassanid Empire and all these heathens to this very day. All they've done was oppress the children of God. So now the Lord is going to use them to oppress one another. He's going to use them to oppress one another. Now, these Arabs, where is it at? Like I said, let me see. I had a lot of links I wanted to get. Oh, let me read this first. So if you've been watching, you're seeing now that this is the real deal. There are actual American soldiers who are being told by their generals that we're going to the Middle East because this is God's plan. They're being told that God is sending us out there to fight in the battle of Armageddon. They're literally telling themselves that they're fulfilling prophecy. You can't tell me that the Most High is not real. This is real. This isn't something that is fabricated. Actual American generals, top commanders in the modern day American army are currently on military bases telling the troops who are about to go die in the Middle East that it's okay. You're going to issue in Jesus Christ's return and you're going to fulfill Armageddon. This is real. So you can't get around this. The king's heart. Let's get that in Proverbs 21 and 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Right? And I'm going to actually get a little of that article. I know we got to get into these dragons of Arabia, right? But it'll all tie in together. Proverbs 21 and 1. It reads what? The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Most High, he put it in their spirit to be able to say that. Right? Let me see if I can find that again. Trump tells troops God's plan. I'm just shoot. Look at this. Look at this. This is the real deal. U.S. troops were told on Iran was all part of God's divine plan. So if you're in the army right now, or if you thought about it, you're thinking about it, those thoughts should be dead right now. They're literally telling their troops, this is God's plan. They're probably pulling precepts. This is Revelation chapter 16 and 16. Okay, this is Joel, the 3rd chapter. Look, when you're an Edomite, I'm an Edomite. We're the beast. We're the beast. These are the 7 heads. These are the 10 horns, right? These are the 10 crowns upon our head. You see, and these people, these are the Ishmaelites, and these are the Elamites. And here, we're going to do this. And hey, they're telling their people this stuff, man. I mean, what are we here for? They're trying to take our job, right? Our job is to break these scriptures down and tell them, Esau, hey, do your own thing, man. Stick to being a devil. Now he's opening up the word of God, telling them this is okay. This is Revelation. Okay, the 16th chapter. Okay, you give me the book of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. Okay, soldier. Look, they telling them that this is war, and the soldiers are getting mad. A lot of these soldiers, they mad, like, hold on, what is this about? I thought we were here to liberate countries from dictators. I thought we were here to put down tyrants. I thought we were here to spread democracy, Christianity, set up embassies, military bases, set up school systems, teach the children how to read, give them clean water, heal them of malaria, set up Walmarts, and civilize the earth. Now the average 18, 21-year-old is being told, you are going to die at Armageddon by commanders in the American army. You can't get around this. You can't get around it, right? U.S. military commanders have been invoking extremist Christian rhetoric, this is madness, about biblical end times to justify involvement in the Iran war to troops, according to complaints made to a watchdog group. So these soldiers, they're getting mad. This is how Rome fell. You had a lot of confusion in the Roman army. A lot of these Roman emperors died by the Roman guard. There was a lot of mutiny. A lot of Roman emperors were actually former military commanders that killed the reigning Caesar. So a lot of these soldiers, this kingdom is divided. I thought, here it is, America being a Christian nation, but you have the soldiers of a Christian nation complaining to their ranking officials and officers about them fulfilling a Christian prophecy. Make it make sense. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation says it has received, Slovakia, more than 200 complaints from service members across all branches of the armed forces, including Marines, Air Force, and Space Force. This place is finished. One complainant identified as a non-commissioned officer in a unit that could be deployed at any moment, right, to join operations against Iran, told the Military Religious Freedom Foundation in a complaint viewed by The Guardian that their commander had urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's plan, God's divine plan. And he specifically, oh damn, I never read this article before, but check this out. And he specifically referenced numerous citations, meaning precepts, out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Okay, so I was kind of being joking about it. They were actually pulling precepts. They said everybody down, and the American commanders are pulling precepts on a military base, telling them this is Armageddon. This is World War III, right? This is, we played a part of the beast. Okay, this is the return of Yahweh Shah, right? They probably said the name Yahweh Shah. Look, this is Matthew chapter 24, 30 and 31. Okay, this is Revelation 14 and 14. Okay, this is Revelation chapter 19, 11 and 13. This is Revelation chapter 1 and 7. Okay, this is Habakkuk, the 3rd chapter. You see, this is going into Yahweh Shah. Okay, Isaiah 66. Okay, 15 on down. Okay, behold, he cometh with clouds. Or it's like the Lord cometh with fire, and his chair is like a whirlwind. They were going into those precepts, man. What they call citations is really precepts. I'm going to read a little bit more. He said that President Trump has been anointed by Yahweh Shai to light the signal fire in Iran to earth. I'm going to read that again. They're telling soldiers from Iowa, Ohio, Florida, young men, and they just wanted to join to buy that new Camaro, get that new Charger, that Hellcat, pay for their son's medical illness, go through college, pay off their mother's mortgage, get granny out the retirement home. And they're being told on a military base that Trump they're not being told battle formations. They're being told that Trump has been anointed by Jesus Christ to cause Armageddon and mark his return on earth. And they complained. So this place is done. This place is finished. I don't know what else people need to know. Is America really done? What's going on? They're done. All right, it's over with. This is it. They're finished. And they say it's not the first time. Right? They said they're bringing in the end times. They're bringing in the end times. And really, they are. They are bringing in the end times. They are indeed bringing in the end times. Revelation chapter 16 and verse number 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet. So the unclean spirits are really demons that's been issued out from the beast, the false prophet, the dragon, which really goes into America. And you got NATO, you got other NATO, but it's really America. This modern day Roman military, political, religious system, through their media, through their propaganda, through their covert operations, through clandestine missions, through overthrowing kingdoms, through propaganda, sorcery, actual witchcraft, working on the minds of people to stir them up to fulfill biblical prophecy. For they are the spirits of devils. So America works heavily with demons, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. So those soldiers are being plagued by frogs, working on the minds of these soldiers to get them to die at Armageddon. These guys, these military guys, got demons on them. And the demons on them are stirring up the evil spirits in these soldiers to persuade them to go to war. Propaganda, the television. It's so many different factions, for lack of better terms, of the spirits of devils, because there's so many different ways how America is working on the minds of the people. The media is there, but you have spies, you have CIA operatives, you have embassies, you have the education, you have all types of an entire system. It's really an entire system through lies and deception. Verse number 15, and the state of Israel plays an integral part of this because they're convincing America that if you don't back up the state of Israel, then you're not a Christian country. And that's one of the spirits of the devils. So there are frogs all in the White House, frogs all in the Pentagon, frogs all in the these American the congressmen who are being backed up by Amalek. There are frogs all over Babylon the Great, stirring up these people to do the bidding of the state of Israel and convince other European countries to get involved into this war. Like France right now, France is getting involved. These are demons. These are spirits stirring up their minds for war. Now, on the right-hand side, let me get a quick precept on the right-hand side about this. Let's go to Second Maccabees. I want to get one quick precept because there's nothing wrong with stirring up people for war if it's the will of God on the right-hand side. Joshua did that. Judas Maccabees did that. Gideon did that. A lot of our fathers, they were able to do that. Right? This is Second Esdras, Slakia, Second Maccabees, chapter 15 and verse number 17. This is before the destruction of Nicanor. Second Maccabees 15 and 17. Thus being well comforted by the words of Judas, which were very good, and able to stir them up to valor. So he put spirits on them. Spirits of bravery, valor, courage, boldness, faith. He did that. Out of Judas' mouth went forth not a spirit of devils, but spirits of love and spirits of bravery. And he put spirits on these people to stir them up for battle, right? And to encourage the hearts of the young men. They determined not to pitch camp, but courageously to set upon them and manfully to try the matter by conflict, because the city and the sanctuary and the temple were in danger. So we read that to show you that, okay, on the right-hand side, by the sons of God, we were always able to invoke righteousness and bravery and courageousness within us. Esau, pursuant to Revelation 16, he's doing that on the left-hand side, stirring up all of the nations to get ready for a battle, for war. Okay? Revelation chapter 16 and verse 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. So watch over your spirit. Make sure that you're not defiling yourself. Verse 16. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon, which means mountain of troops and soldiers. Now, this is the final battle. It's really a place, but this is where the final battle is going to take place with Yahweh Shai and the wicked children of men. Now, although America is telling their soldiers that this is part of God's plan, America is not the only one that's involved with this plan, right? Again, we're going to touch on why Iran is playing a major role and why other Arab countries are going to play a major role in this prophecy, right? This is massive crowds have erupted across Iran, asking for revenge on the United States and Israel for attacking their supreme leader. You have Saudi Arabia that became a major non-NATO ally of the U.S., right? So we're watching, this was from late 2025. A lot of these Arab countries are involved with America. All right. See, I had another link I want to get. Okay. Senior Israeli official says Saudi Arabia will join Israel and the U.S. soon. It is estimated that Saudi Arabia will attack Iran after they were attacked yesterday. Now, Iran just attacked a CIA building in Saudi Arabia. Let's get that. Iran attacks. This just happened. CIA building. Right, this just happened. Let's see, 19 minutes ago. CIA station and Saudi capital hit in drone attack. And they're mad about that. Them Arab countries are mad. Qatar is mad. United Arab Emirates, they're mad. Saudi Arabia, they are mad that Iran is willing, out of pride, we get out of here. I'm not paying for this, right? Willing out of pride to tear that whole region apart. See, now I gotta go back to this. Man, let me go back. Iran attack CIA building. Salakia. CIA station. And what the hell is Saudi Arabia letting America have a CIA station there? Because they're allies. Right? They get weapons from them. They get protection from them. But that station was struck by a suspected Iranian drone. Right? Suspected Iranian drone. Now, Saudi Arabia said we have the right to attack. Aggression. See if I get that. They said we have the right to respond. It's like I got a lot of links. I want to make sure I had the right one. So let's see. We're gonna know. And I may have just pulled it prior to this letter, but they actually put out a response, should I say. So a lot of these Arab countries, they've had enough of Iran, right? And a lot of these Arab countries aren't allies, right? When you look up, let's pull this up. This is your Unified Military Command, formerly known as your Peninsula Shield Force. This is the military arm of the Gulf Cooperation Council. When you go into the Bible, you have to know geopolitics, right? Because you're going to read about certain terms in the Bible, and you're going to have to find out what that modern term means. You're going to read about the kings of the East. You have to find out exactly what that means. You'll read about the nations of the dragons of Arabia. You have to find out what they're being called in the year 2026. You read about NATO. What is NATO being called in the Bible? Right? So there are certain military alliances and names of countries that we have to find in the modern day world so we can understand what the Most High is speaking of. So your Unified Military Command is essentially a NATO for Arab countries. Not all Arab countries, just a few. All right, so I'm going to read a little of this. The Unified Military Command of the Gulf Cooperation Council, formerly known as the Peninsula Shield Force, is a regional military organization that coordinates joint defense and security efforts among 6 Gulf Cooperation Council member states: Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. The command was renamed on January 5th, 2021, following the Gulf Cooperation Council Summit in Al Ula to reflect deeper military integration and cooperation. Its emblem symbolizes unity, protection, and readiness, representing the collective defenses capabilities of the GCC countries. So all these countries have a military alliance. They're very strongly tied in. And a lot of these countries are in bed with Babylon the Great. And a lot of them don't like Iran. Right? A lot of them do not like Iran. They don't like Iran's proxy groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon. They don't like the Houthis. They don't like America funding. It's like Iran funding a lot of these proxy terrorist organizations. They feel as though that's not the Muslim way. They're destabilizing the region. They're escalating war. So they've always kind of been at odds, right? They've always kind of been at odds, even from a other political side, where you have these so-called Israelis involved. Now, this is your Arab-Israeli alliance. So again, the Most High said, be not ignorant in anything, in a great matter or a small. So you want to be able to, again, to understand who's going to be on whose side when this all goes down. And we have a more sure word of prophecy. So as time continually, goes on and on, we're going to be able to see who's really on whose side. Okay. So this is the Arab-Israeli alliance. The Arab-Israeli alliance is a security coalition comprising Israel and various Arab countries. Originally formed in the interests of the Gulf Cooperation Council, it primarily focused on deterring the political and military ambitions of Iran. So them Arab countries even are in bed with the state of Israel to fight against Iran, which engages in proxy conflicts both with Saudi Arabia and with Israel. It has been actively promoted by the United States since February 2019 Warsaw Conference. It is sometimes referred to as the Israeli Sunni Alliance. So they're in bed. They're in bed doing God knows what. Them Arab countries and them so-called Jews and Babylon the Great have a Israeli Sunni alliance. The Sunni is a branch off of Islam, right? And then you have the Shia, which is another branch of Islam. Most of those Arab countries are Sunni. Iran, then maybe, one or two more, they're Shia. Okay? So I'm going to read this again. This Arab-Israeli alliance, it is sometimes referred to as the Israeli Sunni Alliance due to the Arab countries and it being predominantly Sunni states. See that? While Iran and much of the axis of resistance are predominantly Shia. Right? Let's go on. The coalition has also been referred to as the Abraham Alliance or Abrahamic Alliance after Abraham, the patriarch of the Jews and Arabs. So you have your Arab Alliance. Here's the member states. All right. You have Israel, Bahrain, Egypt, Jordan, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. They have a military alliance, right? They have a military alliance. And remember, Saudi Arabia, they're allies with Pakistan. So Pakistan's kind of involved in this thing too, right? Let's go to Second Esdras. Actually, I wanted to get this real quick before I go to Second Esdras. This is what I wanted. This is from 1140. Just in, United Arab Emirates considers taking action against Iran. The UAE are Sunni Muslims. Iran is Shia Muslims. So some of these Arab countries, just because they're all Ishmaelites and, it doesn't mean much. Iran is a great mix. They're Ishmaelites, but a lot of those guys are Elamites too. A lot of them are Elamites, but their religious divide and their political role in the earth is why they're at odds. Right? You would think, okay, well, they both serve so-called Allah, they would be best friends, but no, it's the exact opposite. Right? It's the exact opposite. We read this article. It is estimated that Saudi Arabia will attack Iran soon after they were attacked yesterday. Right? Let's see. We read that. Okay, we May get that. Okay, here's something else. Here's something else I wanted to get. Iran imposes total ban on export of agricultural products. Neighboring Arab states to face food security crisis. And I wanted to validate this. Let's validate this in real time. So you got to validate these things. Let's see. Tax on neighboring countries. That's one I wanted to really go back on. Okay, you see that? All right, let's see. Iran war taxes. U.S. diplomatic work and leaves Americans in the Middle East limbo. So we'll touch on that. But there's talk of Iran actually trying to destabilize some of those Arab countries. All right. So I'll touch on that. But let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. Right. So you see this great divide going on. 2nd Ezra, chapter 15. And let's get straight to the point through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahushua, right? 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 to 28. Behold, in horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. Right? This east is your Middle East. That's the Middle East. You pull up the map all the time. Ezra saw a vision, a horrible vision of war and destruction in your so-called Middle East. Again, because this is that main area that was promised to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. All right, let's go on. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 29. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. So your nations of the dragons of Arabia is your unified military command, right? Let's pull that back up. Like I said, we got a lot of different articles and different information that we want to show, right? Unified, Slakia, unified, so I want united. Let's Slakia, bear with me. Peninsula Shield Force. All right, let me get the actual Unified Military Command, right? So this is your nations of the dragons of Arabia in the Bible, right? You're not going to find anybody calling themselves the nations of the dragons of Arabia. The biblical term is the Unified Military Command, which is the military arm of the GCC, your Gulf Cooperation Council. All right. That's these Arab countries. And again, you have them, you have Pakistan, you have the state of Israel. They're all going to be at war. The nations of the dragons of Arabia. And why are they called the dragons of Arabia? Because again, dragons are a violent, terrorizing, desert-like beast, creature. And why Arab? Because they're obviously in Arabia. They're in the Arabian Peninsula. Right? Where's the map of the Middle East at? Let's pull this map back up. All right. Map of the Middle East. So the Arab Peninsula, you see Saudi Arabia, Oman, United Arab Emirates. Let me get a better map. The one I just had, I don't know what happened to the other one. Let's see. Let's get this one. All right, this is good. So this is your Arabian Peninsula. And these are your countries: Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Oman. These are the nations of the dragons of Arabia. Now, you even have other allies like Jordan, right? Jordan is involved. Jordan is actually an ally of America as well. America has strong allies in the Middle East. That's why they're able to put a lot of military bases out there in the Middle East because they have the consent of these Arab countries. And Jordan, they're involved in that too. They're a strong ally of America, believe it or not. When they were first about to fight, Jordan said, hey, look, America, look, you could do whatever you want to do to us, right? You could do whatever you want to do to us. Don't worry, we got your back, right? Or is Jordan and America allies? Yes, Jordan is crucial and a long-standing ally of the United States in the Middle East, formerly designated as a major non-NATO ally since 1996. So they've been sold out. It serves as a key security partner in counterterrorism. From who? Iran. Intelligence sharing and regional stability, hosting nearly 4,000 U.S. troops as of December 2024 to support regional operations. Right? So they're a major ally. When World War III kick off, we're led to believe that Jordan is going to be right there backing up America. Right? Along with a lot of these other Arab countries. They're going to be doing their own thing. So these are the nations of the dragons of Arabia. And they're going to come out and they're going to fight. And they're no longer going to be attacked by other countries. They're no longer going to be ridiculed and be mocked. Now, these nations of the dragons of Arabia, they go back to Ishmael. They go back to Ishmael. Remember, Ishmael is one of the many sons of Abraham. Let's go to Genesis chapter 16. Okay, remember you had Abraham, he had Ishmael, he had Isaac, and he had 6 sons by Keturah. And out of Isaac came forth Jacob and the 12 tribes. Out of Keturah came the other heathen, the Dan and Midian, and X, Y, and Z. And out of Ishmael came forth your modern day Arab countries. Ishmael is the progenitor of your modern day Arabs. The word Arab just means mixed, right? That's all it means. It's not a biblical nationality. So those people in the Middle East, yes, they say Arabs, but they're biblically Ishmaelites and Elamites. The people of Saudi Arabia, the people of Oman, Kuwait, Jordan, a lot of those are actual Ishmaelites. Iran, those are Ishmaelites, but they're also mingled with Elamites. Genesis chapter 16 and verse number 11. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. Right? And he shall be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And Ishmael is a wild man. They'll blow themselves up, jump out of a plane, strap TNT to their chest, slit their throat. They're violent, man. Making bombs in basements. They are wild. Camel riding, homosexuals, bloodthirsty. They beat their women, beat their kids, and they dwell amongst one another. That's where they all live, amongst one another in the so-called Middle East. They dwell in the presence of their brethren. All these men are brothers, and they come from the different sons of Ishmael. Ishmael had 12 princes. That's why a lot of these Arab countries fancy themselves kings and princes. And the word Saudi actually means blessed, or it means royalty. That's what the word Saudi means. Let's get that. Let's get that too from the etymology. Let's go to the word Saudi. right? Saudi, because that ties directly up to Ishmael. Okay, from Saud, family name of the rulers of Najd from the 18th century, and from the kingdom of Saudi Arabia since 1932. The name is from Arabic Sa'ad, which means good fortune or happiness, with common Semitic national designation, right? So it essentially means good fortune, right? They're kings, they're princes, they're royalty, right? That's the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They have crowned princes, they have kings, because they come from these Ishmaelite sons. All right. Let's get another precept about Ishmael, about that royal lineage that he would come forth from. This is Genesis chapter 25 and verse number 12. Now, these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names, according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth and Kedar, Adbael and Mipsam, and Mishma and Duma and Massa, Hadar and Tema, Jetur, Napish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, by their towns and by their castles, 12 princes, according to their nations. So all them Arab countries, Jordan, Kuwait, etc., they descend from one of these 12 sons. And that's why they have, people wonder why Dubai and the Arabs have these elaborate buildings and all of these projects that they want to do, and the tallest, best skyline, and because they are known for dwelling in castles and being princes and being kings and having a regal spirit. People travel from all around the world to see the Dubai skyline. You know, they have flying cars and Lamborghinis, and only the wealthiest of the wealthiest travel here to live good, right? I mean, Jake, Eve, you go there, but you're a dumpster to them Arabs, right? But when them top elites and them top Arabs come here, man, they handing out gold. They open up bars and they're giving gold to their brothers. So these are the modern day castles, and these are the modern day princes of the Ishmaelites. That's why they always have these elaborative projects of building and dwelling places, because that's always been a staple of the sons of Ishmael, of these Arabs that dwell obviously in Arabia. All right, I'm gonna read this again. Genesis 25 and verse number 16. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, by their towns and by their castles, 12 princes, according to their nations. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died and was gathered unto his people. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, as thou goest toward Assyria, and he died in the presence of all his brethren. So the Lord gives you the geographical location. They dwell in Havilah unto Shur, right? That is before Egypt, as thou goest towards Assyria. Now, let's pull this up. Let's pull up Havilah. That's your Arabian Peninsula. Okay, Havilah, it says, here's the definition you want. A district of Arabia of the Ishmaelites, named from the second son of Cush, probably the district of Kualan in the northern part of Yemen, right? So it's really going into Arabia, right? It says a district in Arabia, but it's really all of Arabia. That's Havilah, right? Because as you travel towards Syria and you go before, if you go toward Assyria, like the scriptures say, you're going east. You're going east. So this is before Egypt. See, this is Egypt. And you're going toward Assyria. So you're going east and you're going to run across Havilah. Now the Lord said that the Red Sea compasseth the whole land of Havilah. This is your Arabian Peninsula, biblically known as Havilah. Let's go to Genesis 2. That's where Ishmael and the Arabs would dwell at. And that's how we know that the nations of the dragons of Arabia are these Ishmaelites that dwell in the same land that they've always dwelt in for centuries. Let's go to Genesis, the second chapter. Genesis chapter 2 and verse number 10. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and it became into four heads. The name of the first is Pison. That is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. So Pison is another name for the Red Sea. So the Red Sea surrounds an entire land, which is called Havilah. Here's the Red Sea, right? Here's the Red Sea. And what does it compass? Saudi Arabia. So you can't get around it. What is Arabian Peninsula, right? It compasseth the whole land of Havilah where there is gold. And there is a lot of gold. There's gold. There's oil. There's a lot of natural resources out there in that area. A lot of natural resources, right? Let's read on. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. So there's a lot of gold in that area. And that's why Esau always wants to go to the so-called Arab countries, man. Now, let's pull this up. Is there gold in the Arabian Peninsula? Yes, there is significant gold in the Arabian Peninsula. We just read that in Genesis, the second chapter. The Lord said the gold of that land is good. We're going to read that they have fine, high-grade gold, which backs up Genesis, the second chapter, particularly in Saudi Arabia, which is actively expanding its mining sector to diversify its economy. Now, check this out. Recent major discoveries include a 100 to 125 kilometer long high-grade gold belt. It must have been reading Genesis, the second chapter, because the Lord said the gold of that land is good. Near Mecca, featuring deposits with, for example, 20.6 GT of gold. All right. So there's a lot of gold. Check this out. Saudi Arabia is investing billions to become a global hub for mining, focusing on gold, copper, and zinc as part of its Vision 2030. So now we're understanding, as we dive deeper into it, who the nations of the dragons of Arabia are, where they're from, where their land is, right? Who they descend from. Let's go to Judith chapter 2, right? Let's go to Judith chapter 2. Then we want to dive deeper into that prophecy. But right now we want to do an in-depth focus on them. So we want to touch on their lineage, want to go into the maps, right? Go into the prophecy. This is Judith chapter 2 and verse number 24. There he went over Euphrates and went through Mesopotamia and destroyed all the highest cities that were upon the river Arbanai till you come to the sea. This is Holofernes and Nebuchadnezzar taking down all these heathen, expanding the Babylonian empire. And he took the borders of Cilicia and killed all that resisted him, and came toward the borders of Japheth, which were toward the south, over against Arabia. Right, so he came towards near Turkey, took over all these different kingdoms, and he came near Arabia. That's where the 12 princes and their descendants that dwelt in castles lived. So back in Second Ezra, chapter 15, let's read it again. Second Ezra, chapter 15 and 29. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. The chariots are their military vehicles, right? That's their military vehicles. That's their jets, tanks, right? Those are military helicopters. And a lot of the chariots they get from America. A chariot is a war vehicle. In the ancient world, pull up an ancient chariot. Your modern day chariot is really a tank, right? That's where they get the concept of a chariot from and a war elephant, but it's really like a tank. So these are ancient chariots. So it's a war instrument. And a lot of Arab countries get military weapons from America. All right. I'm not going to go too deep into that. You can look into that on your own, but a lot of these chariots come from America. And the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. So this goes into your Unified Military Command, your Peninsula Shield Force, right? Formerly known as your Peninsula Shield Force. I've always called them that, but again, they changed their name, right? They changed their name to the Unified Military Command. Okay, the Unified Military Command. And they're going to fight against other opponents in that Middle East region. That's how it's going to go down. Let's read on. Verse 30. Also, the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So the Carmanians, they're going to get involved in this war. The Carmanians are your modern day people of Iran. All right, here's a map right here. So that a map of Carmania. Okay, so you have Carmania and you have Persia. This is the empire of Alexander the Great. Okay, now Alexander the Great took down the Persian Empire, and he took them down at the Battle of Gaugamela. Some scholars call it the Battle of Arbela. That was in 331 BC. Darius III was taken down. You can read that in First Maccabees, the first chapter. Carmania is the geographical location of present-day Iran. Okay? It's the geographical location of present-day Iran. So when the Bible speaks about the Carmanians, he's speaking about the people of Iran because there's no present-day country with the name Carmania. And they're right next to Persia. And Persia just became Iran, I believe, in the 1930s. The former name of Persia is, it's like the former name of Iran is Persia, right? And I believe that was in the 1930s. Let's type that in. When did Persia become Iran? Persia officially became Iran March 21st, 1935, right? 1935. But biblically, they were known as Persia, okay? Now, certain precepts like Ezekiel 38, they're still known as Persia, right? But Second Ezra, they're being called the Carmanians, okay? Let's read this. Also, the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. Now, why are they called wild boars? Because they're like the wild man Ishmael. All right. They're like the wild man Ishmael. Now, boars of the wood aren't peaceable creatures. If you've seen wild boars, they are one of the most violent creatures on the earth. They destroy all farms. They'll break down trees. They'll break down your vineyards. and they will destroy everything in their path. That's what wild boars do. All right. That's what wild boars do. And I actually got a quick clip just to show that. Right. I got a quick clip just to show the power of the wild boar and why God, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, is using Iran's military might as a wild boar in comparison. Now, I pulled this up. This is, let's see, hold on. I think it was this one. All right, let's search this up. Bear with me. It may have been this one.
This is a wild boar, a creature with longer legs and a more intimidating appearance compared to regular pigs. Wild boars are incredibly strong and highly aggressive. If they sense danger from humans, they can deliver lethal blows with their sharp tusks. And don't think you can outrun them. They can sprint at a speed of 48 kilometers per hour. So, how do you survive an encounter with one? Stand firm and dodge their attack, then quickly climb to a higher spot like a tree. Luckily, they can't climb trees, so you'll be safe there. This is a wild boar, a creature with longer legs and a more intimidating appearance compared to regular pigs. Wild boars are incredibly strong and highly aggressive.
So wild boars go crazy, right? Let me see this one. Fair use. So they actually out there, they got to kill the wild boars because they're destroying so much farmland. You see all of the stuff they destroyed?
Picture this. It's 3 a.m. in rural Brazil. The moonlight casts shadows across endless sugarcane fields. Everything seems peaceful until you hear it, a low rumble. Not thunder, not machinery. It's something much worse. What you're hearing is the sound of destruction moving at.
They say what you hear is the sound of destruction. Let me go back. This is fair use.
What you're hearing is the sound of destruction moving at 30 miles per hour. By sunrise.
Look what they did to the land. Look what the wild boars did. They didn't put a crater on the earth. So that's why the Most High called them Ishmaelites, wild boars, because they're going to be destroying the earth with missiles and bombs everywhere and Missile City and nuclear warheads. They're going to be doing the exact same thing that wild boars do, and that is destroying the earth by means of total chaos.
Rise. 3 months of. What you're hearing is the sound of destruction moving at 30 miles per hour. By sunrise, 3 months of backbreaking work will be gone, completely erased, as if it never existed.
Look at that. They destroyed the whole cornfield.
This isn't a natural disaster. This isn't a war between nations. This is something far more personal, far more devastating, and happening right now while you sleep. In the remote countryside of southern Brazil.
So you get the point, man, right? You get the point. Them wild boars, you know, they're like worse than locusts. A lot of people, they rather have locusts than wild boars because wild boars, they'll mess up the whole land. They'll redesign the entire infrastructure and layout of a whole vineyard, a whole farm, right? Of a whole farm. Now I put this up. Do wild boars destroy farms? Okay, so they're not letting me type. Let me see this. See that? Oh boy, that's always something. All right, so bear with me. All right, Satan. Okay, do wild boars harm farms? All right, check this out. Yes, wild boars, pharaoh swine, cause extreme harm to farms, causing an estimated of $2.5 billion in damages annually to United States agriculture. They destroy crops. Now think about this spiritually. They destroy crops, which is man on a spiritual level, like corn, wheat, and peanuts, tear up pastures, ruin equipment, and spread diseases to livestock. Their rooting behavior ruins soil, while their presence kills young livestock and damages infrastructure. So all hell breaks loose when the wild boars are out. All right, so now we understand 2nd Ezra 15, right? Why these modern day Iranians are being called wild boars of the wood, because it's like they totally wipe out everything in their path. Right? Let's get that in Psalms chapter 80. They wipe out everything in their path. David wrote about these creatures, these wild beasts. Right? In Psalms chapter 80. I believe this is what I want. It reads Psalms chapter 80 and verse number 12. Why hast thou then broken down her hedges, so that all they which pass by the way do pluck her? So all of the nations pass by Israel in the ancient world, break us down, destroy us, rape, rob, and murder us, right? The boar out of the wood doth waste it, and the wild beast of the field doth devour it. So even King David knew about how terrible the wild boars were, and they'll waste everything in their path. That's the wild boar. Let's go to this word in the Hebrew. Right? Let's go to that word boar. Hog, swine, boar, swine as forbidden food. So it's really just a boar. Right? Now, if I'm not mistaken, I want to type in one more thing. For boars, symbols of victory. Right? Let's see. Okay, Persians, check this out. Yes, wild boars were powerful symbols of victory. If you don't like the AI overview, they got the sites, you can look it up. You can dive deeper into it, right? But, you can look this up anywhere. You can go to your local library. Yes, wild boars were powerful symbols of victory, strength, and courage across many ancient and medieval cultures. Here's the point I want. Persian and Sassanid Empire. So them Persians, them Carmanians, they loved that wild boar. The boar was associated with the Zoroastrian, Yazada, Varham, the epitome of victory, often depicted on royal art and currency. So them Persians, them Carmanians, they loved that boar. It was their symbol of victory. They put it on their money. It was in their art, right? They loved the wild boar. And that's why, again, that's another reason why 2nd Ezra says what it says. That they would come forth and destroy all things in their path. Right? They would destroy all things in their path. I thought they were going to show me the boar, but that's all right. All right, 2nd Ezra 15 and 30. So we know why the Arabs, they're calling themselves the dragons of Arabia. We understand it now. We broke that down. Also, the Carmanians, we're reading verse 30 in 2nd Ezra 15. Raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. Why wild boars? Because they destroy all land, any grass, any green thing, just like in Revelation, the 9th chapter. People, they put craters in the earth with bombs, and it's a symbol of victory for the Carmanians. And with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So they're going to join battle with them, right? Join battle meaning they're going to be at odds. That's what join battle means, right? You pull up every time you see, let's do this, join battle. It means they're going to fight against one another. So they're not going to, I can't put two words. Let's see, join battle. All right, let's do battle. Okay, here's an example of how the Bible uses join battle. Right, Genesis 14:8. And there went out the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah and the king of Admah and the king of Zeboam and the king of Bela, the same as Awar, and they joined battle with them and the Vale of Siddim. So this is the battle of the 4 kings against the 5. They joined battle, meaning they fought one against another. And remember, the king of Sodom lost this battle. But they joined battle. It doesn't mean they joined forces. It means it's an ancient way of saying they fought against each other. They joined battle. Let's get another example. Right? This is let's see. I wish I could type in 2 words. Right? Maybe I can, but let me get another example of joined battle. Right? Of different military armies biblically, according to the Bible, right, joining battle. Let's go to 1 Samuel 4:2. 1 Samuel chapter 4:2. And the Philistines put themselves in array against Israel. And when they joined battle, Israel was smitten before the Philistines, and they slew of the army in the field about 4,000 men. Does that mean when it says they joined battle, does that mean the Israelites and the Philistines became best friends and they fought against? No. They joined battle, meaning they went to war against one another. Right? Let's go to 1 Kings 20 and 29. 1 Kings chapter 20 and 29. And they pitched one over against the other 7 days. And so it was that in the 7th day, the battle was joined, and the children of Israel slew up the Syrians and 100,000 footmen in 1 day. So they joined battle. Did they become best friends and fight against anybody? No, they fought against each other. They joined battle against each other. Right? Let's go to 1 Ezra 1 and 29. We'll get one more, but hopefully brothers understand what the Bible means when it says they joined battle. Right? 1 Ezra, let's do 1 and 29. We can go on and on. 1 Ezra 1 and 29. I'll read 28. Howbeit Josias did not turn back his chariot from him, right? This was Pharaoh of Egypt, but undertook to fight with him, not regarding the words of the prophet Jeremiah spoken by the mouth of the Lord, but joined battle with him in the plain of Megiddo, and the princes came against Josiah. So King Josiah, he joined battle. Who did he join battle against? Against Pharaoh. What happened in that battle? He lost, right? He died, right? Not he lost, he died. We'll get one more. 1 Maccabees 4. All right. And why are we going over this? Because it says the Carmanians, they joined battle with the dragons of Arabia. Right. Let's go to 1 Maccabees 4 and 14. We'll start at 13. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judas sounded the trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen being discomfited fled into the plain. So again, they joined battle. Judas Maccabees and his army, he joined battle with the heathen. What happened? The heathen got killed and fled. So joining battle biblically means that you fight against one another. Here's another, let's pull this up. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15, and we'll read it in the GNT. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, and I'll read 28 on down. Then in the east, you will suddenly see a fearsome sight. Arab armies with chariots will advance like dragons. As soon as they start out, the sound of their hissing will spread across the world and bring fear and trembling to everyone who hears it. That's the sound of the missiles raining on the earth. That's the hissing. All right. The Carmanians will come out of the forest and a fierce rage like wild boars, advancing in full strength to attack the dragons. With their tusk, they will tear up a large part of Assyria, because that's what wild boars do. They tear up land. So when these Iranians fight against the dragons of Arabia, they're going to put craters in the earth. They're going to destroy cities. They're going to destroy lands. They're going to break down walls, and all hell is going to break loose. Right? Let's read this again. It reads, the Carmanians will come out of the forest in a fierce rage, like wild boars advancing in full strength to attack the dragons. With their tusk, they will tear up a large part of Assyria. Let's pull up Assyria on a map. Assyrian Empire. Right? So you're going to have this war in the Middle East. All right, you're going to have this war in the Middle East. We'll just do Assyrian Empire. So they're going to tear up a large part of Assyria. Why the large part of Assyria? Because this is where World War III is going to be taking place at, the main hotspot. You're going to have bombs over here and cities destroyed and children killed and hospitals blown up and banks and command centers. The wild boars are going to pull the Middle East. That's what God is saying. They're going to pull the Middle East into a regional conflict of total destruction. And the boar is the strength, it's like the tusk. It's the strength of the boar. Like a horn represents strength and it represents power, which is really the military might of Iran. And they have a tusk, and their tusk is their missile city. Now, one of their top generals came out and said that, hey, look, you haven't seen anything yet. They said, we gave you old missiles. We have new missiles. So they have more tusk and more military might that the world has yet to see. And they're going to tear up a large part of the Middle East. Man, this whole place is going to be a desert land. Right? It's going to be a desert land by the time Yahushua returns. That Euphrates River is going to dry up. There's going to be dead bodies everywhere. And that land's going to have to look back like the Garden of Eden. Let me get that real quick in Ezekiel 36. That World War III is going to turn that land into a desert land. Quick precept. Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse number 33. I'll start at 35. Okay, Slaki, we'll read 33. Thus said the Lord God, and the day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be builded. Yeah, because post-World War III, it's going to be a wasteland. And the heathen are going to have to build that back up. And the desolate land shall be tilled, because the wild boar is going to tear up all of the land. And the dragons of Arabia and other countries involved. All of these nations in the Middle East. Whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden, and the waste and desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. So that whole Middle East region destroyed by war, missiles, missile cities, the wild boars of the wood, the dragons, Babylon the Great, the bombs. Hey, it's going to be a complete desert land. But then in the kingdom, the Most High is going to turn it back to its proper estate. Right? It's going to turn it back to its proper estate. So let's read on. Let's read this one more time. 2nd Ezra 15 to 30. Also, the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. Who's the them? The them are the dragons of Arabia. There's no other people being mentioned outside of the dragons of Arabia, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. That's that Middle East region. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. So as this battle, the Most High is showing you how this war is going to kick off, or how it's going to take place. When the dragons of Arabia, Iran, these different armies fight in the Middle East, the dragons are going to have the upper hand. Why would the dragons have the upper hand? Well, remember, the dragons, their military comes predominantly from the beast, right? Let's pull this up. Like I said, we got a lot we want to get. Does America supply Saudi Arabia with weapons? We can do other nations, but they get them weapons. Yes, the United States is a major supplier of weapons to Saudi Arabia, consistently providing advanced military technology, including F-35 fighter jets, tanks, missile defense systems, and logistical support. As of 2025 through 2026, the United States has maintained significant defense deals with recent agreements worth over $140 billion, reinforcing a long-term strategic security partnership. So you're trying to figure out, well, how are the dragons going to have the upper hand? Well, they got better weapons. They got better technology. They have better jets, better tanks. America, they live by the sword. That's their blessing. And they have imparted some of that blessing and some of that sword onto these Arab countries like Jordan, Oman, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. You know, that unified military command, that Peninsula Shield Force, they're going to have the upper hand due to the advanced weaponry, advanced equipment. Okay? Look at this. Saudi Arabia is highly reliant on the United States for military equipment, training, and maintenance. A lot of these Arab countries, they're trained to shoot by the beast, right? They're trained to kill. They have all manner of wisdom on the left-hand side because they deal directly with Babylon the Great. All right? They deal directly with Babylon the Great. Check this out. This is from what's that? Statista. Okay, you can look that up. Saudi Arabia is the biggest buyer of U.S. arms. Check out who buys the most weapons from Babylon the Great. Look how they have double the weapons than the next, it's like your next person. It's in millions. So then you got Iraq, Australia, United Arab Emirates, that's part of the Dragons of Arabia, Qatar, that's part of the Dragons of Arabia, Israel, Italy, South Korea, Japan, and Mexico. They're all American allies. So why in 2nd Ezra 15 are they going to have the upper hand? Because they are a major military partner of America. And not only that, it's part of their nature. Because remember, Ishmael is a wild man. So the Most High is going to unlock that spirit inside of them. And all that walking like your royalty and counting gold and, you know, sitting in castles, that's going to go out the window. And the Most High is going to unlock that wild man demon that we read about in Genesis, the 16th chapter. He's going to unlock that spirit on them. And it's not going to be up to them. The Most High is going to put that spirit in them. And they're going to fight and they're going to wage war and have the upper hand against the Iranians who have inferior technology. And the concept of military technology is paramount in biblical prophecy. This is how you break down part of the breakdown of Daniel, the 2nd chapter. There's a reason why the statue in Daniel 2 goes from gold to silver to brass to iron, because the military technology increases throughout the ages. Silver is much stronger than gold. It's a stronger metal. Brass is stronger than silver, and iron is stronger than brass, right? Which goes into the Babylonian Empire being conquered by the Persians and the Medes, and then the Greeks took down the Persians and the Medes, and then the Romans took down the Greeks. But military technology throughout ages is in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, but it's also in this chapter as well. We're reading about how the Most High is a man of war, how he's going to give one country or one kingdom, people, the upper hand. The upper hand means you have the victory. Upper hand meaning have the advantage over someone or something. All right. So they're going to have an advantage due to the spirit the Most High is going to give them, and give them their the technology, right, from the beast. All right. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 32. Then these shall be troubled. Who's going to be troubled? The wild boars. And keep silence through their power and shall flee. So we're finding out who's going to be stronger, the Carmanians or the dragons of Arabia. Right now, we're finding out that the dragons of Arabia are going to be stronger. And the Iranians, they're going to have to flee. They're going to have to get help from Russia, because Russia is going to be a guard unto them, pursuant to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. And Russia is going to get dragged into this war. All right, let's get Ezekiel 38. Russia is a guard unto Persia. Oh boy, so like I want Ezekiel 38. Okay, but right now we're seeing how the Iranians, you want to know how it's going to go down. The beautiful thing about it is we can see it clearly in the Bible, right? Who's going to have the upper hand? While the world is waiting to see who's going to do what, we already know what's going to go down. The Most High told us. We have the interpretation of the scriptures that they don't have. So we're seeing into the future right now concerning the war in the Middle East. Now, Ezekiel, I'm not going to read this whole chapter, but I want to read Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse number, I'll read 1 and 2 and I'll jump down. Ezekiel 38 and 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. So this goes into the land of Russia, the prince of Russia, these top northern quarter armies. And say, Thus said the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Here's the point. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. Because Russia don't want to get involved, but they're going to get dragged into this war by the Most High. He's going to make them get involved in this war. And all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmer of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So Russia is going to be a guard unto Persia. So even though we're reading how the dragons of Arabia are going to have the upper hand on Persia or the Carmanians, we're reading how Russia inevitably is going to have jaws put into their mouth and pulled into a war to support Iran, right? So let's go back to this. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 32. These shall be troubled. It's like it. Then these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them. And in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. So in that Middle East, that's from the land of Assyria. Them Iranians, they're going to get bombed. They may lose. We don't know the exact buildings that they're going to lose, but maybe power plants, maybe political buildings, military buildings, radio towers, you understand, hospitals. They're going to get besieged. And they're going to lose some of these top generals that they keep losing. These dictators and kings, there's going to be dread and strife on who's going to be in power next. How are we going to muster up enough strength to take down this these Arab countries that are backed by America. All right, let's get that in another translation. 2nd Ezra 15, this is the GNT again, 15 and verse number, I'll read 29 again. Arab armies with many chariots will advance like dragons. As soon as they start out, the sound of their hissing will spread across the world and bring fear and trembling to everyone who hears it. The Carmanians will come out of the forest in a fierce rage, like wild boars, advancing in full strength to attack the dragons. With their tusk, they will tear up a large part of Assyria, but the dragons will unite their forces. That's your united military command. So you can't get around it. Formerly known as your Peninsula Shield Force. That's the uniting of forces, the United Military Command, which is the military arm of your Gulf Cooperation Council. But the dragons will unite their forces, regain their former strength, and win the victory. They will turn and pursue the wild boars, who will be thrown into panic, beaten into silence, and forced to turn and run. The wild boars will be ambushed in Assyria, and one of them will be killed. This will bring fear and panic to their army and indecision to their kings. So Iran is not going to be good until they get a lot of support, right? Russia's going to have to be a guard unto them and save them from complete, total annihilation. Because 2nd Ezra 15 is telling you that they're not going to do so good against these Arab countries that are backed up militarily by America. Them wild boars, they ain't going to be. Iran do a lot of talking, but when it goes to get down and it's time to lay down and put up or shut up, we're finding out what they're going to be made of. God is telling us what they are made of, and they will not get that victory. Now, you're going to have other nations that are pulled in to support them. These are the kings of the East. You're going to have Russia. You're going to have North Korea. You're going to have China that are pulled into this war to fight for the wild boars, and they're going to fight against these other countries. Let's go to Revelation 16. All right, so we're painting, most high willing, the picture of the sequence of events of World War III, right? Revelation chapter 16 and verse number 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So you're going to have the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Collective Security Treaty Organization. You're going to have these different alliances all come in, and they're going to back up and help fight in this war. This is your Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay. Now, this is a political, economic, and international security organization. It focuses on political, economic, security, and counterterrorism cooperation. Who's involved? Let's see. I don't want member states. Oh, member states. Yeah, that's what I want. Belarus, China, India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Pakistan. Now, Pakistan is going to have to militarily, they just switched sides and they linked up with Saudi Arabia. So they better think about this. Russia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Right? So Iran is a member state of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This is the top King of the East organization on the earth right now. There's no greater King of the East organization than the Shanghai Cooperation organization. So the wild boars of the wood, they're going to be backed up by, they're going to have to get help from Russia and China. We're reading Ezekiel 38, how Russia is going to get dragged into this war and pulled into a war. All right, let's read on at 2nd Ezra. See where I'm at with time. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Where we at with time? Okay, 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north. See that? And to the south. And they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. So we read about the Iran, the dragons of Arabia, these different countries fighting in the Middle East. Now we're reading about how other countries are going to get involved into this war. Okay? Other countries like England, Spain, from the north quarters is Russia, China. South, you have other Hamitic countries. You know, you got Brazil. You're going to have all these countries poured into the valley of Jehoshaphat. Let's go to Joel, the 3rd chapter. Joel 3 and 9. Right? They're all going to be involved. Joel chapter 3. I want to get straight to the point. And 12. We'll get straight to the point. Joel chapter 3 and 12. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So Jehoshaphat is Yahweh Shaphat, Yahweh's decision, the valley of judgment, where Yahweh Shai is going to judge the heathen according to the sins that they have done, right, on the earth. Against him, his son, and the nation of Israel. So you're going to have other countries there. Now we're reading about clouds from the east and the north and the south, and they're horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. A group of clouds is a storm. That's why it's called a storm. It's not a thunderstorm. It's not it's a summer storm, it's a winter. No, it's a group of clouds. And this is really going into the war in heaven with the fighter jets and these different vehicles, F-32s and stealth bombers that are going to be dropping bombs and stars on the earth. All right, let's read on. They shall smite one upon another. So they're going to be killing one another. So this ain't talking about the chariots, because the chariots are going to be smiting one upon another. Right? They ain't going to be fighting each other. But these other stars, other clouds from the east and the north and the south, Ezra saw that he's describing it as a cloud due to, here's kind of what he's seeing. Let's see if I get this fighter jet, brakes, sound barrier, cloud. Okay. So he's seeing this is a cloud, right? But he's watching these vehicles fly to and fro in the air. Very horrible to look upon. He's seeing it, and he's describing it, and they're dropping stars down. It's not an actual star they're dropping down. They're dropping down missiles. They're dropping down bombs. The stars in the Bible are referred to as bombs being dropped down by clouds, which are, in this context and this breakdown, aerial vehicles. Okay? Now, how do you know that those stars are missiles? Let's go to Revelation, 6th chapter. Revelation chapter 6 and verse number 12. And I beheld, Salakia, and I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. By what? By means of the missiles. Even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. So how are these stars going to be falling from the earth? And the 6th seal. This before the return of Yahweh Shai. Because Yahweh Shai don't return till the 7th seal, the 7th trumpet, and the 7th vial. But the stars are going to be falling to the earth by clouds before that time, which are these F-32 fighter jets and these other vehicles. Okay? 2nd Ezra 15 and 35. They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon earth. even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly. So it's going to be blood everywhere. The Most High said that many of them that dwell on the earth shall die in the wars, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. World War III will kill millions and hundreds of millions of civilians. And dung of men unto the camel's hoof, a lot of blood and dead bodies. And there should be great fearfulness and trembling upon earth. And they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. And then shall there come great storms from the south, from the north, and another part from the west. So you're going to have NATO involved in the locusts. You're going to have the north, which is Russia, China. You're going to have the south, Hamitic countries, and other countries getting involved. And strong wind shall arise from the east, and shall open it. And the cloud which he raised up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause fear toward the east and west wind, shall be destroyed. So you're going to have kings of the east get involved. They're going to lose military vehicles. They're going to lose jets. They're going to lose weapons. Bombs going to be dropping. That's all they're saying. The great and mighty clouds shall be lifted up for the wrath, and the star, that they make all the earth afraid, right? That they may make all the earth afraid, and them that dwell therein. And they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and horrible star. There's going to be nuclear missiles everywhere. The powers of heavens are going to be shaken. Fire and hail, fleeing swords, and many waters, that all the fields may be full, and all the rivers with the abundance of great waters. And they shall break down the cities and walls and mountains, and hills and trees of the wood and grass of the meadows and their corn. That's what the star is going to do. And they shall go steadfastly into Babylon and make her afraid. So the stars eventually are going to fall into Babylon the Great, which are the missiles. They shall come to her and besiege her, and the star and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto heaven, and all they that be about her shall bewail her. So it's going to start in the Middle East. They're going to be fighting one against another. Once these missiles fall in Babylon the Great, at that same time, right before they hit, before they launch those missiles, Yahushua is going to return, right? And he's going to do the job, right? He's going to finish the job. He is going to finish the job, right? So we're going to keep watch, right? We're breaking down. We're doing an in-depth focus on the nations of the dragons of Arabia, right? And we're watching and waiting to see not if, but when these events are going to play out. So Most High willing, or with that, right, we're going to close up, giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashima Mashiach Malak Bashai. It's a blood moon tonight. Most High willing, everybody had beautiful days of destruction of Nicanor, back-to-back days of Purim. You know, right after that, the Most High has given us a blood moon. We're seeing wars in the earth. This is a beautiful time to be alive. Don't take this truth for granted, to be slothful, to take your foot off the gas, your hand off the plow. This is more of a reason to stir ourselves up for great zeal, righteousness. Pray for faith, pray for hope. Pray that Yahweh Ba'ashmi Awashai continually brings forth war and destruction on the earth. And we pray for mercy, that the Lord don't take his Holy Spirit away from us in the last days, that we're found worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and stand before the Son of Man. So again, Most High willing, you are edified. Kwam Yasha. Shalom.